Hello everybody, this is John. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. This is the Merschman Seeds Ag Weather Outlook for November 25th, 2017. Well, let's start off today's briefing by looking at the upper jet stream pattern. I like to do that because I like to get an idea of where the atmospheric energy is, where the most energy is right now. And that's the shaded colors. So you can sort of see the Pacific Northwest and the West Coast. A little bit of a dip in the jet stream over the middle part of the U.S. That's going to bring a little bit of cooler weather in, just briefly. You can see it's not a real strong dip in the jet stream, very minor. It's going to be passing through. We call this a short wave. Sort of be pushing through off to the east, so very brief. Other than that, pretty quiet type pattern. Now, over the last week, we did get some precipitation. Once again, really the trend has been for a while now, the eastern Corn Belt, Indiana and Ohio. And look at Ohio there. That's sort of scattered 1-inch rain and then some pockets of 2-inch rain. The 2 inches in the color of yellow there. Everywhere else, hardly anything over the last week. Now we go past the last 60 days. This might give you some idea of where there have been some harvest issues. Look at Ohio. That's a departure of 4 inches above what would normally occur over the last 60 days. We also have some areas in Michigan that had significant wet anomalies, and then right around Chicago as well. So that's the last 60 days, and it really looks like the eastern Corn Belt has been the area that's been wet, primarily Michigan and Ohio. Now, over the last week, there was a bit of snow here and there, very light over most areas. A couple flurries even over the eastern Corn Belt. Sometimes these type of models here, these measurements don't always reflect the lightest amounts, most accurate. You might have seen a few snowflakes there in Indiana with some of the cooler air pushing in earlier in the week, but really you might not have either. Now, there's not much snow on the ground at all. You wouldn't really expect it this time of year, but we are starting a transition as we get closer to December, out of fall and into the winter months. Now, the departure from normal last week, remember in my briefing last week, I kept on drawing that line sort of like right through here. Cooler off to the east, but not a whole lot, maybe 3 degrees cooler, but very warm off to the west. So the question will be, will these temperature swings or these gradients continue? Now, I wanted to take a look at the Arctic Oscillation here. That's just a sort of a measurement here of changes in atmospheric pressure over time and over different regions. And basically what it's showing me is it's holding right here, this is sort of a neutral pattern into early December, and then it goes down into a negative territory, maybe even rises a little bit here. And this can often, not always, but often reflect some of our general weather over the eastern half of the U.S. So if I just look at this, I would say it looks like temperatures are going to be either normal, getting up a bit above normal, and then maybe as we get into early December, maybe a cold spell setting in. So that's just the big picture. Now let's look at the individual models and see what they show. Well, this week, everything's going to be dominated for the most part by that ridge of high pressure, this area of high pressure right here. It's going to push up a very strong ridge of high pressure in the west. It's going to, a little bit of a dip here. And what we're going to see with temperatures is a very much above normal temperature pattern, 12 degrees, 15 degrees above normal over the western Corn Belt. Then as we go east, you even get a little bit of that influence of that little dip here, a bit above normal over the west or the east, maybe 3-4 degrees above normal. But for the most part, for the average for the next 5 days, above normal, but really noticeable in the west. Not much precipitation this week. It looks like a very quiet week, maybe a couple little light sprinkles here and there, but nothing really of any significance. Now we get into that 6 to 10 day period. Remember the Arctic Oscillation? Remember it sort of bumped up a little bit? Well, here we go. That ridge of high pressure pushes off a bit to the east, but at the same time it's being sort of squeezed on the northern jet stream. We sort of have a split jet stream. Here's the southern jet stream that's trying to push north. Here's the northern jet stream, so it's not as pronounced. So that warm air starts to push off to the east, but it just doesn't get into the eastern Corn Belt. So what we have then is we have well above normal temperatures over the central Corn Belt in that 6 to 10 day range, above normal in the east, but not as much. Okay, now we get into that transition. Remember I showed you that Arctic Oscillation going negative. This is at 11-day on range, 11 to 16. And what we have here is sort of a weak, broad trough of low pressure has replaced that high pressure. And because of that, temperatures cool down fairly close to normal. So, in summary, the western Corn Belt states are going to experience a pretty significant warming trend over the next week or so. Then we're going to cool down a bit as we get into early December. Eastern Corn Belt, everything not as strong one way or the other. Precipitation, I said very quiet week 1. There's week 2, pretty quiet as well. So really, I think the story is going to be this well above normal temperatures until we get that early December cool down, well below normal precipitation. Definitely from a precipitation standpoint, a very quiet pattern. Again, hope you're enjoying your Thanksgiving weekend. If you ever have any questions, you can reach me at John, John, at bluewateroutlook.com. Take care.